Yo, what up, world? Welcome to the Damn YouTube Sports Talk. Another episode. It's your boy Ralph Sneaks coming to you live, Atlanta, Georgia, man. Shout out to AIG Productions, um, putting this together as always. Uh, but we're gonna get to it, man. We're gonna get to it. NBA free agency kicked off yesterday, I believe. Um, Already got some dominoes. Not that it was a huge NBA free agency. It wasn't large. It wasn't huge. Star studded. It wasn't that. But the biggest name that fell was Paul George going to Philly, which that's something kind of we already kind of knew because I don't know if y'all paid attention to the NBA Finals when Embiid was on the panel along with Paul George. They was on the panel for one of those games together. Um, and Embiid was saying that he hoped Philly get some guys, and he kind of looked over at Paul George like that and smirked when he was saying that at the same time. So that was already a hint that more than likely the Philadelphia 76ers were going to land Paul George. For one, for two, they had a lot of cap space to sign a max guy. And Paul George, plays on the wing. He's not going to be in the backcourt with Tyrese Maxey. Plays on the wing, and Embiid is a stretch five. So that kind of already was the writing on the wall that Paul George more than likely was going to go there. And then you had some other teams to get in the mix, like the Warriors. And at one point in time, I heard the Sacramento Kings was in the mix. Um, and some people start putting out the idea of Paul George maybe staying in LA, maybe with the Clippers, and if not with the Clippers, maybe the Lakers. But need to say he ended up in Philly. I think he got 212, 4 years, 212 mil. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough in the East, and you could tell they was just going to wait on Paul George. They had you can tell Daryl Morey had a damn good feeling that he was going to get Paul George because soon after he got Paul George, he went ahead and started filling out the roster, bringing back Kelly Oubre, signing Eric Gordon, and some other little pieces. So that was the main thing for the Philadelphia 76ers was to get Paul George. And from there, they were going to fill the rest of the roster out with however they needed to fill it out. But the main thing for them, the biggest priority for them was to get Paul George. They landed Paul George, and now they're starting to fill out the roster. But I don't think the Philadelphia 76ers are still going to be, beating Boston. I don't think, and I think they can have a tough time with the Knicks now that Mikal Bridges is over there. Not sure what the Milwaukee Bucks are doing, but I think with the addition of Paul George, that still won't really. It may not even get them in the conference finals because for one, you always have an injury-prone Embiid that seems to always be injured or get injured uh, down the stretch of the season, going into the playoffs, and that spills over into the postseason. Paul George, same thing. He got an injury history, and it's right around playoff time. So, having two of your big three guys that's known for being injured around the time that you need them. And if you feel that for 76ers, making the playoffs is not the goal. It's finally trying to get over the hump and get to the finals. Because if you the Philadelphia 76ers, you got to look at the teams that have been further than you since you or starting whatever you call the process. You got beaten by the Toronto Raptors. Kawhi Leonard came over to the East and in 1 year took the Raptors to the finals and won it. And you still trying to get to the conference finals. You got beaten by the Miami Heat. You got beat by the Raptors. You got beaten twice by the Celtics. You got beat by the Heat. You got beat by the Atlanta Hawks. So these teams here have beaten you, and you got beat this year by the Knicks. So all these are different teams. It's not like you keep running to the same team every year and can't get past that one particular team. You keep running into different teams every year in the playoffs, and you can't beat none of them. So if you just Philadelphia 76ers, you doing whatever it is you got to do to make it past the second round of the playoffs because you can't seem to get over that second round playoff exit. In the way the New York Knicks that added Mikal Bridges defensively, that team is going to be stout. Now when the shots are not falling offensively for them, I don't know what they're going to do. But they have a damn good defensive team that can turn defense into offense. So you got that going, and you still got the defending NBA champs, the Boston Celtics, uh, who I don't think you're gonna get past either. So you just gotta hope and pray if you the Philadelphia 76ers that something happens to one of those teams to where they lose a piece, and I don't want nobody to get hurt by nothing. But if you Philadelphia 76, you gotta hope something happens. Well, they may not have a guy available, that you because I don't think you're gonna beat them, in a 7-game series. Um, with the way this roster, and I think they brought Andre Drummond back, if I'm not mistaken. The Sixers did, I think. They brought Andre Drummond back. I could be wrong. I was reading something about it. I think he did come back. But let's look at some of these other free agent. Let me pull it up. Let's see what else is going on in free agency. So here we go. Nothing really too crazy as you still got Klay Thompson out there. Scroll up. Tobias Harris goes back to the Pistons. I don't think that does much for either side unless you Tobias Harris. You're looking at more money. You got, I think he got 2 years, 52 million. Yeah, 2 year, $52 million signing there. Yeah, you get 26 million a year. That's down from the 30 something million you was getting in Philly. But if you the Tobias Harris, 2 year, 52 million to go back to Detroit, I don't think that does nothing for Detroit. Um, but for Tobias Harris, hopefully it does something for his confidence and he plays better. Uh, so it's nothing like having good confidence and then getting you bad because you got that 52 million, 26 million a year. You got that. But like I said, it does nothing for Tobias Harris other than boost his confidence because he didn't play worth a damn when he was with the Sixers. Not to what he should have played. For that type of money he was getting. That didn't equal it. That didn't equate. That didn't equal out. But if he goes to Detroit, which he did, and plays the same way he did in Philly once he gets to Detroit, I mean, yeah, you really won't be able to. I mean, it's probably good for Detroit because damn Detroit Pistons were that damn bad. Uh, they only won like 14 games this past year. So you know what I'm saying. So whatever Tobias Harris gave Philly, if he can give Detroit that, then that's good for Detroit. They was that damn bad this past year. So and they just hired JB Biggerstaff a couple days ago. Um, so hopefully Detroit can get it together. Uh, signing Tobias Harris 2 years, 52 mil. Isaiah Hartenstein, he went to OKC, 3 year, $87 million deal. I think that was a good signing for OKC. They need a big. As you can see, or as you saw, Chet Hogan kind of got bullied in that Dallas series with both Daniel Gafford and the rookie Derek Lively. They kind of took turns playing bully ball with him on both ends of the court, going at him on one end, and him not being able to hold his own, and then just putting the body on him, getting rebounds. So that was a good signing for OKC. Isaiah Hartenstein, the guy that won't get bullied in the paint, the guy that's going to get boards. While you just have Chet Holmgren playing pretty much that stretch four position, because there's only so many rebounds you're going to get as a stretch four if majority of your time on the floor is spacing the floor away from the basket, stretching away from the basket. So there's only so many rebounds that you're going to get when you play in that role. And I think that was the issue. And I talked about this on my Instagram channel. If not, you go follow my Instagram channel. Is damn underscore YouTube underscore sports talk. I talked about that on the video over there, and that was the issue that I was having with the Indiana Pacers and Miles Turner. Miles Turner plays so much on the perimeter as a stretch big that it compromises his ability to utilize his frame to get rebounds because there's only so many rebounds that's going to come that far out on the perimeter. And that's why he didn't get as many rebounds as I think he should be getting if he Miles Turner, because he spends a lot of his time on the perimeter. And not to get too much into the Pacers, but one suggestion I threw out there was that they go and get another big that plays primarily in the paint so they can start collecting more rebounds. Because if your big man, the guy who should be getting the rebounds, is stretching the floor and out on the perimeter, and shots go up, he's not in position to get the rebound because he's out there on the. They go and get a big that plays primarily in the perimeter, and just that way you can kind of feel good about him being out on the perimeter as a stretch four, stretch five, or whatever. Then it'll work better. You won't be getting out rebounded as much if you get out rebounded, depending on the type of big you're going to get. But yeah, I think that's a good fit for OKC. Isaiah Hartenstein, I knew he wasn't going back to the Knicks. Not after they went and acquired Mikal Bridges and then re-signed OG Anunoby. I knew that wasn't going to happen. There was already a rumor that he would go to OKC, in which they needed a big, and that was a good signing, in my opinion. 3 years, $87 million. Let's keep scrolling. Tyrese Maxey, he got his extension with the Sixers. I knew that was going to happen. There was no doubt that Tyrese Maxey was getting out of Philly. He 5-year, $200 million. Cade Cunningham also got extended, the rookie extension as well in Detroit. Paul George with the Sixers, I just spoke about, 4 years, $212 million. Like I said, I don't think that will be in the East with Boston, and then you got the Knicks. Just got added Mikal Bridges to that all lineup. So they got guys they can switch out on Paul George, whether it is DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and newly acquired Bridges. So you got 4 guys you're throwing at the $212 million guy you just brought in, and you also can throw those guys at Tyrese Maxey. So the only advantage the Sixers would have there, because I think when you guys defensively, it kind of wears them out. It gives them different looks. They're not going up against the same guy, regardless of pick and roll switches. You're not going to see the exact same guy every trip down the floor. You're seeing something different. And you got 4 guys. If you're the Knicks, you can throw at those 2 guys. So, the only advantage that they would have then would be an MB on Julius Randle. Julius, unless they're going to sign a cheap big. And I don't know what big is available for what they like to do in with the Knicks. So $212 million over 4 years with the Sixers. Kelly Oubre returned to the Sixers. 2 years, $16 million. Luka Garza, Timberwolves. Drew Eubanks to the Jazz. Jalen Smith signed with the Bulls. He got 3 years, $27 million. Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe to the Thunder. Valanciunas to the Wizards on 3-year, $30 million deal. Chris Paul headed to San Antonio. And like I said, Eric going with the Sixers. But right here, Chris Paul to San Antonio. What I'm curious to know, now that I see Chris Paul's name up here, is what the hell was the Golden State Warriors front office thinking? They pushed the date back for his they pushed the date back for something. You know what I'm saying? Pertaining to his contract. They pushed, I can't remember what it was. It was pushed the date back for his money to be guaranteed or something like that, pertaining to something like that. But they pushed the date back by a couple of days to see if they can work out a trade with Chris Paul, because it was rumored that they were waiving, and then they did. But they pushed the date back to see if they can get a trade worked out before they just waived him. And they turned down the Chicago Bulls deal of Zach LaVine. And I think it was Zach LaVine, it was Andrew Chris Paul in the first round pick, and the Golden State Warriors for Zach LaVine, just to waive Chris Paul. Now I don't understand the logic behind that, letting Chris Paul walk when you had the opportunity to get something in return for Chris Paul, rather than just let him walk and get nothing. And that was the whole reason that you pushed the date back, was to see if you can find a trade partner to move him to. Now, Chicago didn't necessarily need Chris Paul, because they got they just traded for Josh Giddey. They just traded for him and already had Coby White there. So there wasn't a need for Chris Paul in Chicago. But that's not your problem to worry about if you the Golden State Warriors. You make that move, get him out. That's what you push the date back to do. You get him out of there, and you get Zach LaVine in there, who you was rumored to go after anyway. So I'm not sure what or why they turned that down to move a player in which they pushed the date back to try to find a trade partner to move to anyway. And you would have got a guy who you was supposedly interested in anyway. So I'm not sure what the deal was with that. Not taking that trade, but now you waive Chris Paul, and now he goes and signs with the Spurs. Um, so I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Like I said, Cade Cunningham came back on a 5-year extension with the Pistons. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, he signed with the Magic. So that pretty much eliminated Klay Thompson going to Orlando. I think Klay Thompson is looked at by the Mavs. And it's rumored LeBron James is willing to take pay cut to get free agents in there. I'm gonna get back to that in a second. Let's keep going down this list. For Clippers agreed to a deal with Kevin Jr. Yeah, he was actually out the league playing overseas somewhere. Remember, he was arrested on domestic violence charges. He was traded from Houston to OKC, and then he was waived. Then he reached a plea agreement in reckless assault and third-degree harassment, second-degree involved in this case. According to him, he will be allowed to withdraw the plea a year upon successful completion of court-ordered program. Okay, so yeah, Andre Drummond did go to the Sixers. Kevin Love, he's returning to Miami. James Harden resigns with the Clippers. 2 years, $70 million deal, so he's getting 35 a year. I really don't understand the logic of what the Clippers are doing right now. To me, it just seems like the Clippers have to have that new arena with, because it made no sense. And I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper into that in a minute about letting Paul George walk for absolutely nothing. When the Golden State Warriors were trying to trade for him. And I can understand the sense that you didn't want to trade into the competition in the West. I get that. But I would much rather do that than to allow Paul George just to walk away from me for nothing. You know, I would have took all the assets that the Golden State Warriors were trying to give me, and I would have gladly handed them over Paul George. Because like I stated earlier, Paul George has become injury prone in the time that you need him to be. He's not 100% healthy or close to 100% as he should be, and that's the postseason. So I would just much rather that problem to be handed down to somebody else, and I would much rather that problem not only be handed down to somebody else, but be handed down to my competition and let them deal with the same things that I've been dealing with, and take whatever the assets they give me along with the picks. Because they didn't offer them no chump change for Paul George. They actually offered them a quality deal for Paul George. Pacers extend Obi Toppin. OG Anunoby signed with extension with the Knicks. Knicks acquired Mikal Bridges. I stated that. Okay, it's just basically Pascal's extension. So this is basically stuff that we already, that didn't already happen. But let me just dive back into what I was speaking on with Paul George and the Clippers. I'm not sure what the hell is going on in the Clippers front office. I think the Clippers is looking at names to bring back to go into that new arena with, because there's no way in the hell, even if it is the Golden State Warriors we're talking about, that I would just allow Paul George to walk in free agency for absolutely nothing, considering what I gave up to get Paul George from OKC. If you look at what they gave up to get Paul George from OKC, I mean, it was an absolute haul what they gave up to get Paul George. They gave up, they lost the trade because they gave up a guy that was in the MVP running in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They gave up Danilo Gallinari. They gave up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They gave up about 8 picks, along with the MVP candidate in Shai Gilgeous. And at the time, they gave up a pretty solid Danilo Gallinari. So they gave up all that to get Paul George, just to turn down an offer because it came from Golden State, just to allow Paul George to walk in free agency and get absolutely nothing in return. I don't give a damn how long ago that was when that trade happened, because I think that happened in like 2019. But I'm not letting Paul George walk for nothing. I'm taking the deal that was offered to me by Golden State, and I'm recouping some of those assets. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Jonathan Kuminga. I think it was Andrew Wiggins. It might have been Chris Paul. Uh, it was Wiggins, Paul, Kuminga, and picks that was offered to the Clippers, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and the Clippers said no, turned the deal down, took a meeting with Paul George, and just like that, they realized Paul George wasn't coming back. But they hadn't already turned the deal down. And now Paul George walked and went to Philly for nothing. So now I'm thinking, like, what the hell do you do if you the Clippers? You going into this new arena. You're losing Russell Westbrook as well, because I think they're working on a trade to get Russell Westbrook moved somewhere. The last thing I heard about that was possibly Denver. So that'll be a nice fit off the bench for Denver, especially since Reggie Jackson is gone. I think Reggie Jackson went to Charlotte on right around it was during the draft or the day after the draft or something. He went to Charlotte, so he's not there. So I think they're gonna working on a deal to move him to Denver. I think that's his preferred spot that he would want to go to Denver. He'll fit right in there off the bench since Reggie Jackson is gone. But what the hell are you thinking if you are the LA Clippers? You ain't in no position to turn a deal down for a guy that you just gave all that up for. And one of the guys that you gave up in that deal is an MVP candidate, Shai Gilgeous. He's an MVP candidate. He was part of that deal. You had him. You gave him up to get Paul George, and like I said, Gallinari at the time was a solid player, and you gave up like 7, 8 damn picks. You gave up a boatload of shit just to let Paul George walk for nothing, instead of taking the deal that was on the table that Golden State was offering. I don't give a damn if it is Golden State. Let that be Golden State's problem with the injury history and the availability of Paul George around playoff time. Let that be their problem to deal with. I'm taking the deal that Golden State offered: Wiggins, Kuminga, CP3, and picks. I'm taking that. I'm taking that. Now I might waive CP3 or whatever, but I'm taking that. I'm taking that. There's no way in the hell they should have just let Paul George walk. Because then the guys that you didn't want, you may have to try to find a trade partner for Wiggins. You may not want Wiggins, but you probably could have moved Wiggins. You would have kept Kuminga, unless you're using Kuminga to get a bigger piece. But that was a damn good package that the Clippers turned down. But instead, they let Paul George walk for nothing. Now I don't understand what the hell is going on out there in LA. So I'm not sure who they gonna go get now. You know, maybe the Clippers and the Lakers are competing for DeMar DeRozan services, because he ain't coming back to Chicago. If I had to guess, I don't think he'll be back in Chicago. I don't think the two sides are gonna get a deal worked out. I don't think they're gonna come close to getting a deal worked out. So maybe the Clippers and the Lakers are gonna be competing for DeMar DeRozan services out there in LA. He is a LA guy, hometown LA guy. So maybe those two teams be competing for his services. It was reported that LeBron James was willing to take a pay cut to get DeMar DeRozan. At this point, I think is a desperation of what's going on out there with LA Lakers. They trying hard, and it's just like it's out of desperation. Like, why the hell is LeBron James taking a pay cut for DeMar DeRozan when he could have already had DeMar DeRozan? I don't get that. So that's a sign of desperation, taking a pay cut for a guy that you could have already had, and you wouldn't need to take a pay cut because you would have already had that guy on the roster. But it's desperation out there, and for him to take pay cuts because, okay, you're out on Paul George, you're not getting him. So maybe he's trying to take a pay cut. It's reported for DeMar DeRozan and maybe take one for Klay Thompson. It was reported that he called Klay Thompson right after free agency in the NBA started. So, I'm not seeing a whole lot of Lakers Klay Thompson connection there as far as, them talking, trying to get a deal done. I've seen Klay more connected to the Dallas Mavs that I have seen of the LA Lakers. I think also another spot that Clay would fit would be the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets lost Contavious Caldwell Pope to the Magic, so if you can replace KCP with a guy like Klay Thompson, I think that'll be a good fit. And I also seen them rumors of the Nuggets being interested in Klay as well. So, you lose Caldwell Pope, you insert Klay Thompson. If you Klay Thompson, you don't really need him to be the second guy. You know what I mean? There, you already have Jokic, you already have Murray, Jamal Murray, who they extended, and you have Michael Porter Jr. there. So you have three guys there, and you got Aaron Gordon. So you're looking at Klay Thompson being what, the fourth option at best. And if you look at the way the Denver Nuggets offense is, they move without the ball. You got a big man in Jokic who's a point center who can also pass, so all you have to do is move without the ball and he will find you, and a lot of attention will be focused on the pick and roll of what the Murray and Jokic pick and roll. Then you got Michael Porter sitting at 6'10" that can shoot the three. So the way the floor is going to be spaced and the way they move without the ball, and having a big that can also find cutters and find shooters, and make passes from damn near anywhere in the half court setting. He doesn't necessarily have to make the pass out of the post. He can be at the top of the key. He can be on the wing. He can be wherever. And if you move without the ball and you at the spot that you're supposed to be in, or moving to the spot you're supposed to be moving to, he can find you. So I think that fits perfectly for Klay Thompson. And they play good team defense over there in Denver. So Klay doesn't necessarily have to be the best one-on-one defender or be one of the best one-on-one defenders like he previously once was, being a two-way player. Any type of defense that Klay brings at this stage in his career would be a plus for Denver. Any type of shooting that Klay will bring to the Denver Nuggets would be a plus, because I think Contavious Caldwell Pope last year, he only averaged like 11 points maybe. So I think Klay over there can average that. Klay is a better shooter, so that he can definitely fit in and fill the void of the Denver Nuggets losing KCP, in my opinion. He doesn't the production you seen him give Golden State, it wasn't good because he was higher up on the option list in Golden State. But once he comes over there to Denver, if he lands in Denver, he doesn't necessarily have to be that second option. He's gonna fall back and be that fourth option, behind Murray, Jokic, and Michael Porter Jr. over there. So, and like I say, you still got Aaron Gordon over there. So that'll be, in my opinion, that'll be a good fit for Klay Thompson. And you will also be keeping him away from the Lakers. And that would be, adding salt to the wound, because this will be 2 years in a row that the Warriors put the Lakers out of the postseason. And then you go and take one of the free agents that they had their eyes on that fits perfectly with what you're doing. So, that's perfect fit over there if you Denver, losing KCP and just replacing him with Klay. But yeah, just like I said, the Western Conference, man, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough again. You still got some guys that hadn't signed yet, like I just mentioned. DeMar DeRozan hasn't signed anywhere yet. But this really wasn't the biggest free agent class to really be jumping for joy and excited about. Neither was the draft. The NBA draft wasn't jumping for joy, and you're looking at this free agent class, you weren't jumping for joy. And then you also had DeJounte Murray get traded from the Hawks to the Pelicans. But if you're the Atlanta Hawks, you got to be sitting there scratching your head like, what is our identity and where the hell are we headed? What direction are we headed in? Or what the hell are we trying to do? Because you got a star player in Trae Young, a star player in which you haven't had since Dominique Wilkins, right? That's the cash cow in Atlanta. That's the one that's putting the asses in the seats. That's the one selling the tickets, the merch. That's the one that people coming to see in Atlanta. And you can't move him right now for that reason alone, combined with the fact that you had Luka Doncic and you traded him on draft night for Trae Young. So you got a double whammy going against you. You got a cash cow and you got a guy that you traded Luka Doncic away for to get. So you can't lose him right now, because that's the only thing people are coming to the Hawks games to see right now in Atlanta, right? So I'm trying to figure out why the hell the front office in Atlanta can't find a way to build around Trey. It's almost like they content with the way Trey is raking in the money and the dollars for them to the point where they don't give a damn about putting nothing around him for this team to win. Soon as this team got a taste of winning and they went to the Eastern Conference Finals in which they lost to the Bucks, they were kind of satisfied with that. That was their NBA final, so to speak. They was good with getting just that far. They was good with just that. And then they've been going backwards ever since. You know, they gave up the 3 first rounders to get DeJounte Murray. And then you trade him for 2 first rounders, Dyson Daniels and Larry Nance Jr. That ain't gonna move the needle for the Hawks. That's not gonna move the needle for the Hawks. If I'm Atlanta, I'm preparing for Trey to go ahead and just after this season, if you don't make no noise this season, which I don't think you will, you just might as well go ahead and prepare for Trey to request a trade. Because that's exactly what's gonna happen. You can't seem to build a team around Trae Young for whatever reason. And it's just gonna be the same thing again as you had a fan favorite in Dominique Wilkins. You traded him for Danny Manning, and then the guy Danny Manning didn't even re-sign back with the Hawks, and he ended up going out to Phoenix, I believe. So you didn't get the return value on DeJounte Murray, and I get why you had to move DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray is a point guard. He's not a 2 guard. So Trey is a point guard. Trey's not a 2 guard. Neither one of those guys really were comfortable playing off ball. Neither one of those guys really knew how to play off ball, and it just wasn't a good fit when you look at it from that standpoint. 2 point guards on the floor that both need the ball to make things happen. And DeJounte quietly averaged like 21, 22 points this year. But a lot of people don't understand and realize his best games were the games that Trey missed due to injury. So that's when you really got to see what worked and what didn't work. He played better when he was the primary point guard and Trey was out due to injury. So it was good that you moved DeJounte Murray. But in the same token, if you're the Atlanta Hawks and you're trying to win, why the hell aren't you trying, or if you're not trying to put any more, or if you're trying to replace his 21, 22 points per game, why the hell wouldn't you inquire about bringing Brandon Ingram back? Why the hell would you just move DeJounte Murray for 2 first-round picks? And one of the picks that you got is the pick that was supposed to go, it was a Lakers pick. The Pelicans just deferred that pick to next year. So now the pick that the Pelicans was going to have next year that they got from the Lakers, they just gave that to you if you were Atlanta. And if that pick probably going to be close to the 20s. Because the Lakers probably going to make the play-in. And if they make the playoffs, that pick is just only going to be worse than what it is. So they just gave you scraps of somebody else's pick. So if you're the Hawks, you're looking at a loss on the return. Not only that, you gave up 3 first rounders to get him, which was, in my opinion, too rich to get DeJounte Murray. And he wasn't even a 2 guard. He was a point guard. And you already had a point guard in Trae Young there. So there was no need to go and get another point guard and put him at the shooting guard position when he's not a shooting guard. Neither one of the guys, like I said, know how to play off the ball and move off the ball. So I didn't understand going to get DeJounte Murray, even though he's a 2-way guard, plays solid defense. That's going to make the Pelicans better. The Pelicans are going to be much better. I'm just not understanding the logic here because they traded away AJ Griffin as well, who was a former first-round pick. They didn't give him minutes in Atlanta. Quinn Snyder wasn't giving him minutes, and Nate McMillan wasn't giving him minutes. So he just was where he was actually getting a little bit more minutes under Nate McMillan, who the Hawks fired and got rid of for Quinn Snyder than the minutes Quinn Snyder's giving AJ Griffin. So if you moving a former first-round pick, why the hell are you moving for the 44th pick in the draft? Because that's what they moved him for, a 44th pick. So I'm not understanding what the hell is going on here in Atlanta, other than the fact they're just cutting costs, cutting salary, getting under the salary cap. That's the only logic and understanding I can see from the moves that the Hawks are making. What the hell are you doing in Atlanta? Now, if you look at Houston, when you traded AJ Griffin over there, I'm not sure did they, or if they didn't, why they didn't inquire about Cam Whitmore. You're looking at Cam Whitmore, a guy who probably, if given the time and minutes, can be a 20 points a game scorer. You're looking at what Houston got over there with Fred VanVleet at the 1. Jalen Green at the 2. You got Dylan Brooks over there at the 3, and you got one of the Thompson twins there that can also play the 3. You got Jabari Smith at the 4, and you got Sengun at the 5. You don't even have a place for Cam Whitmore to be a starter over there in Houston. And then they just drafted Reed Shepard, who can play the 1 and the 2. But the way he shoots, he needs to be at the 2 behind Jalen Green. So where are you going to put Cam Whitmore? Because you can't put him at the 3. You already got Dylan Brooks and a Thompson twin over there that plays the 3. So if you Atlanta, why the hell wouldn't you inquire about a young Cam Whitmore who's shown flashes when he had the time in Houston to be a 20-point scorer? Why the hell wouldn't you acquire what it would take to get him? He will come to Atlanta and be the starter beside Trey, to go along with Zachariah Richier, who they just drafted with the first overall pick. They go with a young Jalen Johnson. Then you got Okongwu over there, Onyeka Okongwu over there. And Clint Capella still over there, who I think they need to move. And that goes back to what I said earlier in the video about a stretch 4 being out there. And my issue with the Pacers and Miles Turner was he's too far on the perimeter to get the rebounds that he should be getting. But if you're looking at a 2-big system, then you if you Atlanta or if you Indy, why wouldn't you acquire by Clint Capella? Clint Capella is on an expiring contract. He's a big that's going to get you 11, 12, 13 rebounds a game. And he give you about 10 points. So he's going to average a double-double. He's not nobody that's going to requesting the ball and you got to run the offense through this, that, and the third. He's going to rim protect. He's going to run the floor. So that could be a big over there that's getting you rebounds. That's getting you double-digit rebounds a game. While you can just let Miles Turner be the stretch big that he want to be. Because if you continue to have him as the primary big and you're not getting rebounds like you should because he's too far away from the basket, stretching the floor as a big, why not try to trade for a guy like Clint Capella? It's not like you're going to be tied up with this guy long term. He's on the expiring contract. So if that experiment don't work, then he's off your books at the end of the season. It's not something long term you're going to be tied up with. And Atlanta needs to move off Capella anyway. They need to get a big in there that at least can hit a mid-range jumper. You can't continue to go and not run pick and pops with Clint Capella and he not being able to hit a mid-range jumper. You need a big that can at least hit a mid-range jumper. If you Tony Wrestler on the Atlanta Hawks, you got to stop being a tight ass. If you want to contend, you got to go out and get the players and pay what it's going to cost to be a contender. Now you're looking at Portland, who just drafted Donovan Cleveland, who already had Robert Williams on the roster, who already got Ayton on the roster as the starting center. If you're the Atlanta Hawks, why wouldn't you take a look at somebody like DeAndre Ayton? Somebody that can efficiently run the pick and pop with Trae Young. Somebody who can hit a mid-range jumper. Why wouldn't you go and look at that? Because I know the Portland Trailblazers didn't draft Donovan Cleveland at 7 for him to come off the bench. And where else the hell can Donovan Cleveland play? He can't play the small forward position. He's 7'2". He's a center. You already have a center on your roster in DeAndre Ayton. So that was a reason they took Donovan Cleveland with the 7th pick. They're going to play Donovan Cleveland. You don't take Donovan Cleveland with the 7th pick to sit him down to come behind DeAndre Ayton for 2 years. That's not what you take Donovan Cleveland with the 7th pick for. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be something Portland is trying to do or move with DeAndre Ayton. And if you're a team like the Atlanta Hawks, why the hell wouldn't you be picking up the phone, monitoring what the hell is going on with DeAndre Ayton in Portland? That could be the big they could use to pick and pop with. You have the point guard that's going to dish it out. Trae Young is averaging 10, 11 assists a game. So it's not like you don't have a guy that only scores and doesn't assist. Trae sets other guys up. He's averaging 11 assists a game. So if you get a big like DeAndre Ayton, who's athletic enough and can hit a mid-range jumper, why the hell wouldn't you acquire about that to now that be your new pick and roll duo with Trae and DeAndre Ayton? I understand DeAndre Ayton's contract is more than what you probably want to pay if you Tony, but that's what it's cost to play in the league today. You're not going to get nobody on a rookie deal to come in and give you what you want right away to get your team where you need to be. If you Tony Wrestler, you got to stop being a tight ass in Atlanta and get your head out your ass and stop changing coaches every 2-3 years. Stop changing front office personnel every 2-3 years and get your head out your ass and see what's going on. Spend the money necessary to build a team around your star player, Trae Young. He's bringing the cash in. He's putting the asses in the seats. He's selling the merch. Put a winning product around him so this thing can really take off the way it needs to go. But as long as you're being a tight ass about it, and then you got different people coming in every 2 to 3 years with a different vision, and you're starting over, as soon as you get a little traction and get going somewhere, you're firing somebody, bringing somebody else new in, and now you got to start all over with as far as the direction you want to go because the players on the team ain't fitting whatever it is they want to do. It don't fit the vision that they got for the team. So now you're right back in the same situation. You tearing the team, you quote unquote low key rebuilding without saying it. You're hanging on to people and paying people that you shouldn't pay. Then you're overpaying people when you do pay them. Because there was no reason to jump out there and pay DeAndre Hunter the way you did. DeAndre Hunter was a restricted free agent, meaning that you should have let him test the market and see what his market value was. And if somebody was willing to pay more than you was willing to pay, then you let him go. You don't overpay to keep him. Nobody on the market at that time was in the market for DeAndre Hunter services. You probably could have re-signed DeAndre Hunter for much cheaper. Well, not much cheaper, but cheaper than you did had you just let him test restricted free agency. And if somebody offered him something that you were willing to offer, you could have matched that to keep him. You didn't have to jump out there and sign him the way you did. Now you just drafted a guy that plays the same position with the first overall pick that DeAndre Hunter played. So what you going to do with Hunter now? Bring him off the bench. But you should have already been trying to actively move DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter has not lived up to the 4th overall pick. Now you paying the guy. Wing players are covered, most sought after players right now in the NBA. Two-way wing players. And DeAndre Hunter is a wing player, and nobody's trying to inquire about DeAndre Hunter. Because when you saw that he wasn't living up to the 4th overall pick, you should have tried to include him in a deal, even if it meant packaging him up with somebody else to move him instead of paying him. Now you're going to look to salary dump him because you just took Zachariah Richard with the first pick. He's a 6'9" small forward, same position as DeAndre Hunter. So this is all the kind of stuff that's going on in Atlanta. They trading DeJounte Murray, I get that. But you should have never got him in the first place because he wasn't a fit. That's just kind of stuff I'm talking about that's going on with franchises like Atlanta. It's just a matter of time before Trae Young asks out. Oh, yeah, it's coming. It's just certain stuff that I don't get. Like if you're losing a DeJounte Murray, why not, even if you don't have intentions of paying Brandon Ingram, why not try to move, even if you did move DeJounte, which you did to the Pelicans, why not try to get a third team involved if you didn't necessarily want Ingram, but at least get a third team involved to get you back another player that's going to give you about 18 to 20 points a game, that's starter material, that can play and is a better fit alongside Trae Young in the backcourt as a shooting guard. Why not find a third team to do that? And to be honest with you, I thought the Phoenix Suns were going to pick the phone up and call the Hawks about DeJounte Murray because that's a team that also needs a point guard. And they have two of the same type of players in Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. But the thing about it is Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause in his contract. So Bradley Beal ain't going nowhere unless he say he want to go. And then he can waive his no-trade clause and get traded to wherever, he want to get traded or get traded to wherever the deal, the team that's in place and play with deal. But I thought that was just going to be a place where possibly DeJounte Murray may land because they need a point guard. And then you're looking at Mike Budenholzer, the new head coach out there. He's a defensive-minded head coach, and he would then have a defensive two-way point guard that plays defense and can give you about 20 to 22 a game. So you look at that combined with him and Devin Booker in the backcourt, that's a much better fit than him and Trey in the backcourt. Devin Booker can actually play shooting guard. Devin Booker actually knows how to play off ball. Devin Booker can actually light it up as a shooting guard because he knows how to play shooting guard. And now you add an actual point guard in there, and DeJounte Murray is capable of also distributing 7, 8, 9 assists a game. He can do that. He's a point guard, and he can give you 20 to 22. So that was a much better fit in Phoenix than him being in Atlanta. So, at this point, I guess it was maybe the picks that they weren't going to be able to get from the Phoenix Suns that they were going to be able to get from New Orleans. But at the same time, like I said, why didn't they call and try to get a third team involved so they can get more secondary guy they can or shooting guard they can play alongside Trey that's a better fit than what DeJounte was in Atlanta. So now I got the feeling you're looking at the Hawks the way they go out and shop at the dollar store when it comes to players. They probably gonna end up with a guy like Lonnie Walker playing alongside Trey. And I'm not taking no shots at Lonnie Walker, but they need somebody that can average at least 20 to play alongside Trey. I think Quinn Snyder being the head coach, that they need somebody that can. You can't put all this on Trey. They need defense as well. I get that because they defensively they bad. They can score the ball with the best of them, but that's a huge chunk of that got to do with Trae Young being there. And Trae Young was a guy this year. I think he averaged like 25 and 10 or 25 and 11, and this was a down year for Trae. He missed a lot of time with injuries. This was a down year, and he still averaged 25 and 10. Mm-hmm. So a good year in which Trae plays majority of damn near all the season, he can give you actually like 28 and 11, 28 and 12. So you got a guy like that running your point. Yeah, I get he's not a defender at all, but you surround him with defenders, and I think that's part of the reason why they went and got Zachariah Richier with the 6'9". He can defend multiple, the 1, 2, and the 3. So that was a good defensive piece that they were probably looking at. And like you said, they needed an Alex Sarr, but Alex Sarr didn't want to come. He declined the workout. He didn't want to come. So I couldn't be mad. I would have been even madder if they had took a guy at number 1 that didn't even want to be here. So I guess they went with the safe pick, him, a guy that can defend the 1, 2, and the 3. So, if you're Atlanta, you got work to do. You're looking at Quinn Snyder. You're looking at Landry Fields in the front office along with Kyle Korver. And then they brought another guy in from Golden State. This is basically telling Landry Fields that you got to get this shit right. If not, the guy that's going to replace you is already here. And you already basically replaced. We just waiting on you to mess up. We just waiting on you to screw it up and shit. So you can be the hell out of here. And the guy that we got to replace you is already here. So they got to get this together. Otherwise, they're going to lose Trey. And that's going to be a huge blow to Atlanta. And that's just going to be like the Hawks losing Dominique Wilkins all over again. But there's still other free agents out there. I just seen something flash. Hold 1 second. Something involving something. Okay, well, Derek White, Celtics gave him an extension, 4-year extension, $126 million. But there's still some guys out there in this NBA free agency that could still, help some teams and whatnot. Let me see, something just came across my phone. I can't get back to it. But yeah, Derek White, like I said, 4 years, $126 million extension with Boston. Like I said, DeMar DeRozan. I'm sorry, DeMar DeRozan. I think he's going to be either a Clipper or a Laker. And if I had to put my money on it, I think he would be a Clipper. Because I'm looking at the fact that the Lakers could have already had DeMar DeRozan. And DeMar DeRozan, he said he thought it was all but a done deal that he was going to be a Laker. And when that didn't happen, but instead the Lakers went the Russell Westbrook route, and they didn't go the DeMar DeRozan route. That kind of happened like that, and it was leading up to them leaning towards bringing DeMar DeRozan in, and they didn't. And then at the end, last second, it was the Russell Westbrook move that they elected to go with and bring Russell Westbrook in. So I think he's going. In my opinion, that's how I would be looking at it. I was like, I would have been a better fit for your team at the time, but you chose to go in another direction, and the direction you went in didn't work. In fact, you moved off of that guy, and he went to the Clippers and played better in that role than the role you gave him with the Lakers. So that didn't work, and now you willing to take a pay cut if you LeBron James. For me, I'm like, nah, no, thank you. I'll pass. I'd just rather go to the Clippers. It's not like I'm not going to be in LA. I'm still going to be coming back to LA, just not as a Laker, but instead as a Clipper. So I will be coming back to my hometown, just not in the purple and gold. It'll be in the royal blue and red and white, but as a Clipper. Uh, so losing Paul George, you could slide them in there. Him and Kawhi. Uh, they brought James Harden back. So if I'm DeMar DeRozan and one of those two teams are interested in me, I'm taking my services to the Clippers instead. Um, because the Lakers, they was pump faking like they wanted me, but at the last second they went and took Russell Westbrook and went that route. So now that you're in desperation mode over there in LA, the Lakers that is, that's exactly what it is. They're in desperation mode over there. Took Bronny James in the second round. Now LeBron James is willing to take pay cuts to get guys in there, and this is not even a strong free agency class. So, and the biggest name in this free agency class, uh, Paul George, if you LeBron, is gone. So now you're willing to take pay cuts for DeMar DeRozan or possible Klay Thompson. And like I said, Klay Thompson, in my opinion, I think he's a better fit in Denver than he is in LA. So, you know, you're going to have to make some moves if you're Lakers. You're going to have to trade some guys to get some guys. Because even if Klay Thompson comes over there, um, where are you going to play him? Because they already talking about putting AD at the 5, and you got Austin Reeves at the 2, D'Lo at the 1. LeBron will be the 3, AD will be the 4, and they looking at Brook Lopez, looking to bring Brook Lopez in to play the 5. So AD don't have to play the 5. That's not what AD want to play. AD prefers to play the 4 over the 5. So that's why they guess they're bringing in a Brook Lopez that can stretch the flow and play the 5. So they can move AD to the 4 where he want to be. LeBron will be at the 3, then Austin Reeves at the 2, and D'Lo at the 1. So you go in there and take a pay cut and bring Klay Thompson in. Where are you gonna play him? You're gonna sit Austin Reeves and put Klay Thompson in at 2, but you're paying Austin Reeves. That's why I thought it was gonna be a trade involved, so you can move off those guys, and it won't necessarily be a log jam nowhere. Then you just brought back Max Christie on the deal, so you know you got some figuring out you got to do over there, and you got a rookie head coach in JJ Redick. You got some figuring out what you're gonna do whatever, and you just drafted Dalton Connect. Where you gonna play Dalton Connect? You need Dalton Connect. Dalton Connect is lighting it up. Was lighting it up. That's who LeBron James liked. He previously talked about it. That's the guy JJ Redick liked. That's the guy that failed to them at 17 and they took. So you got a guy like that who can hit 3. I think he was hitting like 40-some% from 3. So you need a guy like that in your starting lineup. So what the hell are you gonna do with a Klay Thompson if he comes over there? Bring him off the bench. You're gonna take a pay cut for a guy to come in and come off the bench. Make that make some kind of sense. And I get he may play better off the bench, but why am I taking a pay cut for a guy to come here to come off the bench? If I'm taking a pay cut, it's gonna be for a guy that can come in here and be starter worthy. Otherwise, why am I taking a pay cut for a guy to come off the bench? So I mean, if that's the route they're trying to do or whatever, I mean, even if they're looking at DeMar DeRozan, and Brook Lopez, they do land Brook Lopez some type of way. Where you gonna put DeMar DeRozan? You gonna put him at 2? You already got LeBron at 3 and AD will be at the 4. What are you gonna do? So I don't know. They got some figuring out to do over there, especially JJ Reddick headache I call him. You got figuring out to do over there. You gotta get this shit together and figure it out if you over there. You already don't have coaching experience, let alone you ain't got no coaching experience. Let's just put it out there. You ain't got no coaching experience. And the season ain't even started and you got to figure out where you're gonna put guys if you land them. So you gotta put the lineups together, you gotta figure out this, that, and the third, and then you got the Bronny James situation over there. I know they didn't draft him not to play him. I ain't dumb. I already know the play. They drafted him to play him. So, they're going to give him minutes. They're not going to draft him and not give him minutes with LeBron on the team. He's going to get minutes. So, whatever the hell they got to figure that shit out there in LA. But, yeah, man, still some pretty solid free agents available. The bigger one was the Paul George is already gone. So now you're going to start to kind of see certain things fall. The Utah Jazz is interested in trading or listing the offers for lower marketing. And I did see they also had Walker Kessler on the trading block too. So knowing Danny Ainge, he's going to want to haul back for lower marketing. So, I saw the Spurs were interested in lower marketing, which wouldn't be a bad idea. You get another stretch big. They can actually play better fit at the 4, in my opinion, than the 5. So you got to stretch 4 and you got to stretch 5 out there in San Antonio if they are able to come to some type of deal for lower marketing. In Dan Ainge, like I say, he's gonna want the house, the farm, the truck, tire, everything. He gonna want everything in his trade packages. So if he's able to land a lower marketing in San Antonio, that'll be a good fit. So like I said, you'll have a stretch 4 and 5. Combined with bringing in Chris Paul, who wouldn't have to do nothing but strictly facilitate to Devin Vassell. And then you got Stephon Castle there, who's going to be playing solid defense. So you San Antonio, you in a good situation. You in a real good situation over there. Yeah. Lakers are too optimistic. They're gonna end up signing Thad Young. They're gonna end up doing some shit like that. Ain't no telling, man. I think the Lakers are just. I think, man, listen. I think the Lakers are in desperation mode right now. I think the Lakers did some things that they shouldn't have done, and now it's starting to bite them in the ass. And now they moving out of desperation, because the whole play was to get Bronny James over there. So, and if you go back and look at the team that they had at one point that they traded away to get AD, it's a lot. It's just a whole lot over there, man. Like I said, man, it's the Clutch Sports and LeBron James Association over there in LA. Why else the hell would you? I mean, you just can't tell me nothing to make it make sense if you over there in LA as a Laker fan. I want to hear from I want to hear from a real Laker fan. I want to hear from somebody that's been a Laker fan years before LeBron got there, because you got a lot of these guys that follow LeBron wherever he go. They're not even a fan of the team. They just a fan of him and follow him wherever he go. I've never seen so many Cleveland Cavalier fans when LeBron was there. They can't tell me shit about Cleveland before LeBron got there. They can't tell me shit about Cleveland during the time LeBron left and went to Miami. But all of a sudden, when he get to Cleveland, get drafted there, they know every damn thing because he there. Then they can't even tell you, like I said, they can't even tell you about Cleveland, what was going on with that team when LeBron left and went to Miami. But all of a sudden, when he come back, they know so damn much about what happened in Cleveland, this, that, and the third, because he back. Right? They ain't know shit about what was going on in Miami. And then he goes to Miami and they follow him and they swear they know every damn thing that went on in the Heat organization even before he got there. Can't tell you a damn thing about the Heat organization now or the players that they got down there now that LeBron ain't there no more. So I want to hear from a real Laker fan who's been a Laker fan for years before LeBron got there. What the hell are they doing over there? They cannot tell me something that make it make sense. They went from a guy in Frank Vogel, who they won a chip with, And by the way, I don't think they would have won the chip if it wasn't for COVID and them going into the bubble. But that's neither here nor there. They had him, an experienced guy. They fired him. Then they went to Darvin Ham, a guy who was an assistant on Mike Budenholzer's staff in Milwaukee when the Bucks won the chip against Phoenix Suns a few years back. Brought him in. They went to the Western Conference Finals with him, by the way. Just for LeBron, they ended up doing a podcast with JJ Redick talking X's and O's from a coaching standpoint. Around the time that they was saying that LeBron and Darvin Ham wasn't seeing eye to eye, around the time that they was already speculating that Darvin Ham was going to be fired after the season, that happened. Then the guy that you ended up doing the podcast with ended up being a coaching candidate for the Lakers, which ultimately ended up getting the job. And he ain't got a coach experience at all. He got more experience with DUIs than he got with coaching basketball. Right? Then he caught up in the situation where he got the racial slurs that he allegedly calling these women, this and that and third. He got all that shit going on. No coaching experience, no nothing. But you hire him and think that you're supposed to be better with a guy who don't know or haven't been coached or hasn't ever coached than the two previous guys you had that took you to the conference finals and the guy you won the finals with. Make this type of shit make sense if you the Lakers. I don't understand it. Now you go to LeBron James and Rich Paul and them setting it up to get Bronny James drafted over there. Because I know y'all done seen the story and heard about it and read about Rich Paul threatening the other GMs not to draft Bronny or else he'll go to Australia. I already did a video on that. You can go back and check it on my YouTube channel, Damn YouTube Sportstalk. You can go back and check the video on that. I already did a video on that. And I did it on my IG page. If you want to go over there and follow my IG page, the link is in the bio to subscribe to the YouTube page as well. So you can go over there and look at the videos. I already stated about that. The play has been set up to get him over there. Now he over there, and you got a coach who ain't never had no coaching. Now then went to the point where LeBron James was willing to take a pay cut during a weak free agency to get a guy who you should have already gotten and had in DeMar DeRozan. This is the type of shit that I can't make sense out of. That's why I want to hear from a real Laker fan, not a LeBron James fan or nobody that just started looking at the Lakers when LeBron got there. I'm talking about a Laker fan that has been there long before LeBron got there. Make it make sense. Because I can't seem to make no sense out of it. This shit just really don't make sense in my opinion. And it's not like the team you lost to in the Denver Nuggets. When you had Darvin Ham, you lost to the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. The Denver Nuggets went on to win the finals that year. So you didn't lose to a team that went to the finals and got the hell beat out of them. You lost to a team that went on and won the finals. So there was nothing to hang your head on about that. You didn't lose to a team that went to the finals and just got the hell beat out of them and looked like they didn't deserve to be there. You lost to a team that went to the finals, took care of business, and won the finals. And looked damn good doing it. Then you come back the next year, and you wasn't even good enough to lose a play-in game to avoid the Denver Nuggets. You talking all that shit about how you wanted to see Denver and how you was ready to match up with them, and you could match up with them, this, that, and the third, to the point where you beat the Pelicans in the play-in game, and then you drew the Denver Nuggets in the first round, and they beat the hell out you. You got gentlemen swept. You wasn't even good enough to say, okay, we can lose this close game to the New Orleans Pelicans in the play-in, and then we can come back and play who it was, Sacramento, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Sacramento. You wasn't confident that you could beat Sacramento. So it was a damn if you do, damn if you don't if you was the Lakers. You was either going to draw the Denver Nuggets in the first round, or you were going to draw, I think it was OKC. Those were the top two seeds in the West. Denver, I think OKC was 1, Denver was 2, if I'm not mistaken. If my memory right, it was OKC 1, Denver was 2. So the Pelicans got in, and I think they played OKC in the first round. So if you were the Lakers and you were gonna see either Denver or OKC. Now I'm not sure you would have beat OKC either, so that's why I'm saying it was a damn if you do, damn if you don't situation. So you lost to the same team back-to-back years. The Nuggets got you again. And I think they beat you worse this time than they did the year that they won the final. So the same way you willing to take a pay cut and bring players in, this, that, and the third, why you couldn't do that when Darvin Ham was there? Why the hell you couldn't vouch to get players in there when Darvin Ham was there? The Lakers now have become like they ain't even about winning no more. I think the Lakers are more about entertainment. I don't even know if you had to put a list together and rank what is most important on the list of the Lakers. I don't even know what winning would rank on the list. I know entertainment will be at the top. Entertainment will be the first thing with the problem is entertainment. I don't know winning. I don't know where winning would be on the list. And I'm just saying that because winning will be on the list. I just don't know how far down it'll be on the list. It'll be a whole bunch of other shit in front of winning, between winning and entertainment, with entertainment being at the top and winning, and a whole bunch of other shit being in between that and winning somewhere far later on the list. You just can't make this type of shit up if you out there in LA. The LA Lakers have become like a joke. And it's the type of shit that the Laker greats is probably saying in their head or when they are privately talking amongst each other. This is the type of shit they ain't gonna get on national TV and talk about. But I guarantee you, when they behind closed doors having private conversations and thinking to themselves in their head, this is the type of shit they saying. They just ain't telling y'all that. Magic Johnson out the door. He probably saying some of the same shit behind closed doors. It just ain't came out for y'all to hear. It's just private conversations he having. Probably thoughts that he having in his head too. He just ain't coming out and saying it. But this shit that became a joke. This is the type of shit that wouldn't go down if Kobe was there. Kobe wouldn't allow this shit to happen. You can't keep a consistent coach. You fire the ones you got. Every time you get consistent players over there, they can give you something. You get rid of them. Now look at the team that they had when LeBron got there, and they traded them guys away for AD. They had Josh Hart over there. Julius Randle was over there. Brandon Ingram was over there. Kyle Kuzma was over there. Lonzo Ball was over there. You had Zubac over there. You had Clarkson over there. All them guys gone. And look at what them guys became, for the exception of Lonzo Ball and his injuries. One of the Lopez brothers was already over there. And look what them guys became after they left the Lakers, for the exception of Lonzo. And I think Lonzo was getting better, and especially when he went to the last year he was in New Orleans with the Pelicans, and then the first year he got traded over there to Chicago, he was better, and then he had the knee injury. He had DeMar DeRozan over there. I think DeMar DeRozan named his first year after leaving San Antonio, going to Chicago. The first year over there in Chicago, I think DeMar DeRozan name was coming up in MVP combos. Not at the top of the list, not leading the conversation off, MVP conversation off with DeMar DeRozan. But during that time, the MVP conversation, DeMar DeRozan name came up and was mentioned in that conversation. Not at the top of the conversation, but his name came up during the MVP talks. So look at what them guys became, and that was with Lonzo Ball. And I'm not saying that. What I am saying is the injuries hurt Lonzo. Lonzo had actually started shooting better towards the end of his tenure with the Pelicans, and then he carried that over into the Chicago Bulls when he first got there with DeMar DeRozan, and they were actually playing some damn good ball in Chicago. Like I said, they had to for DeMar DeRozan name to be coming up in MVP talks, not leading the talks with DeMar DeRozan, but his name came up when you mentioned MVP combo. His name did come up, and then Lonzo Ball had the knee injuries. So, and he still ain't right from the knee injuries. So look at the guys you had over there if you were the Lakers and you traded them all away for AD, right? So you got to keep the 17th pick this year because the Pelicans deferred that pick that you owe them to next year's draft, which now goes to the Atlanta Hawks. So imagine if the Pelicans had kept their pick this year. You wouldn't even have Dalton Knecht. That pick would have been to the Pelicans, and you wouldn't even have Dalton Knecht. I'm not saying the Pelicans would have drafted Dalton Knecht, but you wouldn't have had him, and they probably would have drafted Dalton Knecht. So you're looking at that if you the Lakers. You wouldn't even have that Dalton Knecht if the Pelicans didn't defer that pick that you owe them to next year's draft. So you wouldn't even have that. You'll just be sitting on the 55th pick, and you wouldn't get a first round pick into next year. And then you were still gonna be looking to trade that pick to get help in if you those Lakers. So you got all this shit going on over there if you LA. I just want to hear from a true Laker fan, like really what, you know what I mean, what the hell your thoughts on the LeBron James era in LA? Because I think that the LeBron James era in LA has been a complete failure. You know, even though you won a bubble chip, but you look at all the other shit outside of that. This is about to be LeBron's fourth coach? Because I think if I'm not mistaken, he came in when Luke Walton was still there. Then Luke Walton left, got Frank Vogel in. Frank Vogel got fired, or Walton fired for Frank Vogel. Vogel came in. Vogel fired for Darvin Ham. Then Darvin Ham just got fired for JJ Redick. So yeah, this is like the fourth coach that he done had since he's been over there. You got one ring to show, and that was only due to COVID, in my opinion. You know, some beg the difference, say something different, but I think if COVID never happened, they don't get that ring. That's just me. Now you got a situation where AD this past season played majority of the games, and I don't know if you're gonna get back-to-back seasons of that. So the season that you did get AD to play majority of the games, you didn't even take advantage of it. Your ass got bounced, gentlemen swept in the first round, and that was a season in which AD was relatively healthy and played majority of the games. I think he played like 70 games this year, if I'm not mistaken. So the season that you get AD to live up to being healthy and playing majority of the games, he do that, and your ass get gentlemen swept in the first round. Now you gonna get back-to-back seasons of AD's health being the way that it was this past season? I don't know. That's why you got to take advantage of when it is like that. So now you're looking at that combined with the fact that AD didn't even prefer JJ Redick. He probably gonna come out and say that he's glad to have JJ Redick and he preferred JJ Redick now, but that ain't what you originally said. You was more in favor of the other guy that was on there. I can't think his name now, but he's on the New Orleans Pelicans staff as an assistant. You were more in favor of him than you were JJ Redick. So if you come out and say something different now, that's probably because somebody done told you this is the route we're going and this is what you got to say, this, that, and the third. But from what I read, the reports that I read, AD was not in favor of JJ Redick becoming the Lakers head coach. So now the guy that you need to be building around for the future don't even want the coach there. And if he did change his mind, like I said, it's something that he got talked into and had to buy into. You know, it ain't something that was his original thoughts, because his original thoughts was he wasn't in favor of hiring JJ Redick as the head coach. So if you the Lakers over there and you miss out on Klay Thompson and you miss out, because like I said, Klay Thompson I think would be a better fit in Denver. They lost KCP. Klay Thompson slide right in and replace KCP. He won't be asked to do or be the second option there like he was when he was in Golden State, because you already got Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. He would probably be the fourth option, and then you still got Aaron Gordon there. So he would probably be the fourth option. So whatever you saw him giving Golden State that wasn't second option like production, that same production he can give Denver will look much better in Denver because he's not asked to be the second option. So that production that he gave Golden State that wasn't second option like production, that will be good production to be the fourth option in Denver. So to me, that'll be a better fit over there. And if you Klay Thompson, you gotta look and think that would be a better fit over there, and you will start over there. So to me, Klay will be a better fit there, and DeMar DeRozan will be a better fit as a Clipper. Now I don't think the Clippers are going nowhere because if they add DeMar DeRozan, I'm not saying they're gonna be a title contender if they add DeMar DeRozan. But what I am saying, if Klay Thompson goes to Denver, Denver will be right back making a deep run in the postseason again. And I got to see how the rest of this free agency fill out before I make my predictions. But I don't think it's really no more free agents that you can sign is really going to move the needle like that. I think these are free agent signings to fill certain voids and play certain roles. There's still some starters in free agency, but there's no superstars in free agency that's going to carry a team, so to speak. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen as far as any other blockbuster trades that could happen. I don't know about that, but there's some blockbuster trades that could definitely happen that could move the needle. It's just not free agent signings that I don't think gonna move the needle. As far as a player of that caliber coming in, moving the needle to help a player in free agency. Now I'm not sure what the hell is going on or why there's no trade market for Zach LaVine. Maybe it's the injuries. Maybe it's got a lot to do with it. The injuries combined with the type of contract that he got. But there's some teams that could use Zach LaVine's services. I just don't think that adding Zach LaVine is going to move the needle for a team, unless you are a team that has some damn good structure and guys already in place, and you already have a championship kind of pedigree there. Maybe that's what was going on, and why Golden State was rumored and trying to get Zach LaVine, because they already have like some type of championship pedigree there with Draymond and Steph and Wiggins being there. He got a ring with him too. So he's just not going to play any defense. You know what I mean? He's not even going, unless, and it's hard to say whether he's going to kick into some type of defensive guru or some type of defensive guy once he leaves Chicago, which I find that hard to do, or hard to believe that he will do in Golden State. I think he's just going to be a scorer. So, and I think Golden State could probably use a big. I think they could use a Brook Lopez type of big, and that would be huge for Golden State to get a big. And I think Kevon Looney, they bringing him back. They were going to waive him, but I think they're going to actually bring him back on a deal, not a huge deal, but a deal to keep him. And if they can somehow get their hands on, make a move for a guy like a Brook Lopez, somebody still got some gas left in the tank that's not really asked. I'm not sure how they're going to make it happen, but if they can get a guy like that, I think that'll be good for them. Instead of playing the small ball with Draymond at the 5, it can work, and it has worked before for Golden State. But at this juncture, the way the bigs are going, if you're looking at the teams in the West, Sabonis is a stretch big, which I think Sacramento could get back into the playoffs this postseason. Sabonis is a stretch big. You're looking at Chet Holmgren, who's a stretch big, and not even just a stretch big, but just bigs in general. You got two of them down in Dallas with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. You got Rudy Gobert, big, that's in Minnesota. You got the Memphis Grizzlies that's gonna get Ja Morant back this year, and they just drafted. They got the big Zach Edey down there. Then you're looking at Jokic in Denver. So you got guys, which I think you're gonna need a big four. And I'm not saying Draymond can't handle that, but when you go small, at some point it's gonna bite you in the ass when you go small. So I think a guy like Brook Lopez, and it would be even better if they can steal it, come in and swoop and steal him from the Lakers, because the Lakers is also interested in a Brook Lopez type of deal or trade to get Lopez there. So yeah, it's still some quality free agents out there that can do some things, but I think the bigger names you're gonna have to trade for. And like I said, I don't think Trae Young is gonna be moved. It was rumors of the Spurs being interested in him and the Lakers. I don't think the Lakers are gonna get him now, and I don't think the Spurs are gonna get him now, especially since the Spurs just got Chris Paul there. So even though Trae Young be a damn good fit in San Antonio, but I think San Antonio would be good just doing the 1-year deal with Chris Paul, and keeping that point guard position open, and keeping their assets and keeping their cap flexibility open, so they can go and make a move to get more of a scorer, a younger scoring point guard, if they choose to. At one point it was rumored about Darius Garland possibly being traded to San Antonio, but we don't know what's going on with the Cleveland Cavaliers situation, because it was rumored that Darius Garland would request a trade if Donovan Mitchell resigned. So I'm not sure, is there any beef between Garland and Mitchell, or is it just business and Garland feel like he's not going to be able to fit and do his thing in the backcourt in Cleveland with a Donovan Mitchell alongside him, and so I guess he's feeling like he could, do it elsewhere. But so I think that's just what the options are, what San Antonio got, and that's what they're gonna do right now. They're just gonna keep their options open, get Chris Paul for a year to get him through this season, and then they're gonna go into next season and see with the assets and the cap space that they can swing a younger, more of a younger scoring point guard at that position rather than throw it all in for Trae Young, especially if they're rumored to get after a Laura Marketing. You know what I mean? If they can get a Laura Marketing down there in San Antonio to be the stretch four to go along with Vic that stretch five, then now you're working with something. Because you got, like I said, they drafted Stephon Castle, and they got Devin Vassell down there. Jeremy Sohan is there. So, you know, you got options if you're somebody like San Antonio. You're in a good position right now if you're somebody like San Antonio. So let me see what else is up. With these free agents as we speak. Let me see what's up with these free agents. I don't think anybody else. Um, yeah, there's teams trying to unload players. You know what I mean? Like I said, Chicago's steady trying to unload Zach LaVine. I think the Brooklyn Nets are trying to unload Ben Simmons. But at this point, who the hell want Ben Simmons? Who the hell want to deal with that headache and go through and deal with Ben Simmons? Um, I think the move Ben Simmons out of Brooklyn, what the Brooklyn Nets gonna have to do is they gonna have to take a couple of those picks that they got from the Knicks, and they're gonna have to attach it to Ben Simmons to move him. I don't think nobody's just gonna be calling your phone about Ben Simmons. Now, if you keep Ben Simmons through this, and Ben Simmons come out there and he plays 70% of the season, and you know, and he looks closer to what he could have looked like than what he actually looked like, then you may have a suitor for Ben Simmons next offseason. Now, I'm not sure how long he got left on his contract. I think he may have like 2 years left on his deal or something like this year and next year or something. If that's the case, then next year will be an expiring deal, and then he'll be more movable then. But as of now, if you do try to move Ben Simmons, the only way, and I'm talking about the only way, and there's not a lot of teams with that kind of cap space that's willing to take on a Ben Simmons type of player. Um, there were teams that are gonna will try to move pieces to create cap space, but not for Ben Simmons, not for a Ben Simmons caliber player. And I think if it is a team that has the cap space to do it, I think that you're gonna have to attach a couple of those picks that you got from the Knicks for Mikal Bridges. You're gonna have to attach that to Ben Simmons to even move him. You know what I mean? If Ben Simmons played any lick of defense, I think the Spurs would have been a good fit because he's a facilitator. He's a 6'10" point guard that can facilitate. Now, if he plays, if he ain't with the bullshit and he can come to San Antonio and play defense at that point guard position, being 6'10", I think that would be something San Antonio would be interested in because it's not like he's on got 4 or 5 more years left on the deal. I think he has maybe 2 years left on the deal. So if San Antonio want to say, I'll take him because I think we have the cap space to pay him and take on his contract. And I'm talking about this is prior to the Chris Paul signing. If this was something that the Spurs would have been interested in, and Ben Simmons had been playing instead of sitting out bullshitting with the injuries, I think that he could have came to San Antonio. San Antonio got the cap space to take on his contract, and then I think San Antonio could have been saying like, you want to move Ben Simmons, and you just got 5 first-round picks from you got like 5 first-rounders from the Knicks for Mikal Bridges. He gone, and you clearly in a rebuild. So if you want to move Ben Simmons and nobody's blowing your phone up to move him, and you can't seem to move him, attach a couple of those picks that you got from the Knicks, and we'll take Ben Simmons. And I think Brooklyn will have to do that to move him because there's not a lot of teams that can take on that contract. And especially for a guy like Ben Simmons. It's not like he's a star player and people are actually looking for his services. They're trying to move him, and teams are not willing to move or shed any salary to create cap space to get a Ben Simmons because he ain't really moved the needle for nobody like that. So, a team like the Spurs who got cap space, this is before the CP3 trade, signing, shall I say, that they made, if he was in any kind of looked anything like Ben Simmons supposed to look playing defense at 16 at the point guard position, he'll fit right in that Greg Popovich system down there in San Antonio. He's not asked to score the ball because you got Victor there. and you got Devin Vassell there. All you have to do is facilitate, initiate the offense, um, and play defense and facilitate. That's it. We're not asking you to be a 20-point scorer. We got Devin Vassell and we got Victor Wembanyama here. You just need to initiate the offense, get the ball to these guys, and Victor can bring the ball up the floor. So imagine what the pick and roll defense would be if Ben Simmons were anything like Ben Simmons was supposed to be, and he go in San Antonio. That pick and roll defense with 6'10" Ben Simmons and a 7'4" whatever Victor Wembanyama, that would be crazy elite defense on the pick and roll. And with them having added Stephon Castle, that would be crazy elite defense if Ben Simmons could be what Ben Simmons was supposed to be. And they would be getting a couple extra draft picks coming back with Ben Simmons for taking Ben Simmons on. But it's CP3 there now, so it's a year-to-year thing. And then they could revisit that if Ben Simmons pull another stunt this year like he did last year. And I think he'll be on an expiring contract next year, so they could revisit that next year if Ben Simmons pull that same shit this year that he pulled his past. If he pull that same shit this upcoming season that he did last season, that could be a gamble worth if you have the cap space, forcing Brooklyn to attach a couple of picks that they got from the Mikal Bridges trade from the Knicks to Ben Simmons, get Ben Simmons on an expiring deal, and a couple picks coming your way. That could be something that may happen to a team like San Antonio after this season, because CP3 is only on a 1-year deal. So then you could turn around and do the same thing next year with a guy like Ben Simmons, but this time you will get picks back in return instead of an outright signing on an expiring contract. So that's just some of the takes I got with the NBA now. Like I said, free agency still going on. Paul George off the board. The Clippers locked up James Harden. So it's still a couple pieces out there in free agency that could help a team. But, overall, a lot of this is going to watch out for some trades to see if that moves the needle. I'm yet to hear anything from the Milwaukee Bucks. So not sure what they will or can do. So we're just gonna keep a close eye on what's going on in the NBA free agency. Until the next episode, man, y'all like, share, subscribe on the video. YouTube, subscribe. Like I said, my Instagram page is damn_YouTube_sports talk. Go to YouTube, click the link in the bio, subscribe to the YouTube page for more content. Ring the notification bell. You get updates on whenever new content drop on the page. If you want to go over there to Twitter, X, whichever one you want to call it, damn YouTube Sports Talk. That's where I'm at over there. You want to go and follow me on my personal page, see what I got going over there. Is Ralph_Sneaks on IG. Until the next episode, man, y'all be safe.